Good morning. I'm going to call this meeting of the Benton County Board of Commissioners on Tuesday, May 7th to order at 9 a.m. I am Zan Ojuro. I'm the board chair.
Pat Malone, Commissioner.
Vance Crony, County Council.
Rachel McEnany, County Administrator.
Okay, and typically we do a round of introductions through the audience as well. So I'll start over here with Inga. And online?
Jeff Van Arsdal, Benton County Sheriff.
Welcome, Sheriff. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you for that. Next up is reviewing and approving the agenda. And I would like to add one item under other, and that is a motion to authorize the chair to sign a quitclaim deed for the McBee campground to complete that transfer from Afrana to the county. I have no other changes. Are there any other additions or changes to the agenda? Okay, with that, we'll consider the agenda approved and move on to our proclamations. The first up is proclaiming May 2024 as Wildfire Awareness Month with the emergency management team.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and read the wildfire proclamation. In the matter of proclaiming May as Wildfire Preparedness Month in Benton County, the threat of wildfires greatly impacts our entire region, including the residents of Benton County, Oregon, and the impact of climate change has greatly increased the risk of wildfires in Oregon. When individuals take responsibility for preparing their families and communities, the chance of survival and return to normalcy following a disaster is greatly increased. Wildfire Preparedness Month was designed to bring awareness to the threats of wildfires to our communities. The Benton County Sheriff's Office Emergency Management Division partners with federal, state, local, tribal, territorial, private, and volunteer agencies to inform individuals on how to take action through our public education campaigns and community exercises. Residents, businesses, and visitors of Benton County are urged to plan ahead for all disasters and encourage their family and friends to also do so by participating in annual readiness events and drills. Benton County Emergency Management and Benton County Emergency Operations Center staff will continue to participate in monthly training and exercises and planning and activities. Therefore, be it proclaimed that May is Wildfire Preparedness Month in Benton County, and all community members, businesses, and visitors are encouraged to develop their own agency preparedness plans, practice evacuation drills, and join in this observance.
Thank you. And do you all have any activities or events that you'd like to promote as part of Wildfire Preparedness Month?
Yes, we do. So on May 18th, we actually have a community wildfire evacuation drill. It's taking place from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And actually we'll have a call center set up so folks can call in to test out that call center. The number is going to be 541-766-6200. So they should be able to, through the exercise, ask questions like a real call center. And then for the drill itself, there'll be two locations, one staffed by the City of Corvallis CERT team. That's going to be the Northwest Hills Community Church off Walnut. And then one here at the Calapooya building staffed by our Benton County CERT folks. So folks get to drive through. We encourage folks to practice with their pets, their family members, their livestock trailers. We'll gather a little bit of information and then send them on their way. We also are going to do a larger wildfire coordination meeting. There's one coming up this week with the state, and then we'll do one more localized here in our region, just to make sure everyone's on the same page about roles and responsibilities and phone numbers and everything else. And then we have a lot of pre-staging and prep work we do, mainly focused around June, but just to get ready for wildfire response. And then, of course, our monthly EOC trainings.
And I know that we have a meeting coming up with our ODF colleagues soon, and they usually give us a little bit more information about what we expect in the upcoming fire season. So I won't ask you those questions yet. I'll hold that fire. Sheriff.
If I can, the young lady who read that is our hazard mitigation recovery coordinator, Hannah Schaefer. The young man sitting next to her is our emergency manager, Brian Lee. And then in the background there, I could see her in there as well, is our emergency management coordinator, Chelsea Chitka. And those three, along with, hi, Chelsea, I see you now. Those three, along with our volunteer coordinator, Chesler Barkdahl, make up your emergency management team. So I just want to make sure that they got properly recognized as well.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and welcome again to the team.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the proclamation.
Well, before I do that, I'd like to point out that you have excellent timing. The rains have stopped and it's going to be 80 degrees in the next few days. So perfect timing. And with that, I'd like to proclaim May 2024 as Wildfire Preparedness Month in Benton County. Proclamation number P 2024-008.
Second. All in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is a proclamation of May 2024 as Historic Preservation Month in Benton County. And we have Adrienne Fritz from the Benton County Historic Resources Commission and Inga Williams from Community Development.
Awesome. Thank you for having us here today. So it is Preservation Month every May, every year, and we get to celebrate our history. And this is our proclamation. Benton County's theme for Historic Preservation Month is Trails Through Time. This theme encourages our community to ponder the various historic manifestations of spiritual and physical trails that led through time to both misery and happiness. And historic preservation educational activities inform people how the present societal and cultural character of Benton County and Oregon evolved through time. And heritage programs like historic downtowns, main streets, historical societies, museums, and certified local governments help communities leverage financial and other resources that contribute to the betterment of public spaces. More efficiently bringing people together, effectively bringing people together, and build knowledge and skills that reach beyond heritage alone. And heritage nonprofit organizations and preservation volunteers collect, preserve, transmit, and interpret Oregon's rich history and culture and the landmarks, stories, and artifacts that help shape current and future generations' sense of place and identity. And honoring history brings people together in shared purpose and identity, binding communities together and bridging the past with the future. Therefore, be it proclaimed that May is Historic Preservation Month in Benton County, and all community members are encouraged to join together to celebrate this observance.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you the same question. What sorts of events are there that will help us to celebrate History Month here in Benton County?
Well, we have a huge list and we'll pass the posters around.
This beautiful poster was created by Adrienne.
Excellent.
Oh, thanks. So you can find things from historic home tours to spending time at the Grange and learning about Grange life and its powerful implications in our Oregon history. Cemetery cleaning, you name it, we have it. I believe the carousel is on here, and we have trolley rides in Albany, et cetera. So we partnered with Albany area.
That's excellent.
This year, we also have a new presentation called the Oregon's Trail of Tears, which is going to be very powerful, and that's going to be at the library. And then our preservation celebration, of course, at the end of the month, which is Bridging History, which is we will be presenting all the mitigation activities that will be occurring around the loss of the Van Buren Bridge.
And when is that event going to occur?
That's May 30th is the Historic Preservation Celebration, and the Trail of Tears is, where are you? You see it?
Yes, it's May 19th,
Thank you.
5:30. And where is it?
It's going to be at the library.
At the library, right?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I'm assuming that all of these events are also going to be posted online. But the posters are lovely and we'll look forward to checking it out.
And there's a QR code for each of you to scan.
Okay. Commissioner Malone, any questions or a motion?
Yeah, just a comment. I'm a recovering history major from college and have a house built in 1898. So I know some of the joys and tears of historical buildings and preservation. And with that, I'll proclaim May 2024 is Historic Preservation Month in Benton County, Proclamation 2024-009.
Second. All in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on, the next item of business is comments from the public, but I don't believe we have any, and none online, I don't think. So we will move on then into our work session. The first item is a quarterly update from the Corvallis Benton Economic Development Office with Christopher Jacobs. Welcome, Christopher. And I see you have company as well.
Good morning. It's great to be with all of you again.
Good morning.
I want to introduce Lily Bender. She is the Economic Development Officer for Corvallis Benton EDO. Effective last month. We're really glad to have her aboard.
Good morning and welcome, Lily.
Good morning. Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself, a little bit about your background?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Lily Bender. I come from Lynn Benton Community College previously as the interim director of the Small Business Development Center. Prior to that, I was the program coordinator and a culinary arts instructor also at LBCC. So kind of a varied background. I also have worked for City and County of Honolulu in residential and commercial appraisal, and also just in the culinary field in general in Hawaii. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
So with that, there's a brief presentation and we're going to move very quickly because I have quite a few updates, but feel free to jump in at any time with questions or following the presentation. Next slide, please. Oh, yes, I have it. Thank you. All right. So we're going to talk through the strategic work plan updates, talk about some reporting metrics in this fiscal year, how we want to report in future years, some countywide initiatives that are underway, and then end with an update about the South Corvallis Food Hub. So here are the 5 core strategies of our economic development work plan. We want to grow property tax revenues. We want to support workforce development. We're going to be looking at competitive benchmarking, talk about what that means, business retention and expansion as a core component of what we do, and then target and traded sector businesses. So strategy number 1, we want to utilize new and existing tools such as the multi-unit tax exemption, enterprise zones, opportunity zones, TIF districts, and public-private partnerships to grow the tax base in Benton County. I think that there is a real mandate for an economic development office to be growing property tax revenues. It's a real measurement of how effective we are at doing our work. So goal number 1A speaks directly to that. Goal number 1B speaks to the types of tools that we hope to implement in accomplishing that goal. And then goal number 1C, we want to effectively manage the airport industrial park and market those development opportunities to encourage new construction. Strategy number 2, we want to develop a modern business retention and expansion program to support and grow traded sector businesses. We've had a business retention and expansion program for upwards of a decade, But I wouldn't call it a modern business retention and expansion program. We right now track touch points, which are a very rudimentary way of understanding our effect of engagement. We want to follow those through to outcomes. And that's really what differentiates some of the modern BRE programs from what we've been doing for a long time. So that involves creating a business registry for all commercial and industrial properties in Benton County, and using that information to track key data points like vacancy or employment, and then communicate more effectively with those stakeholders. We want to support businesses navigating the development review process and seek to provide grant and loan opportunities wherever possible. Given Benton County has many overlapping layers of land use regulations, it can be somewhat challenging for an entrepreneur, especially those who are first-time entrepreneurs, to navigate that development review process. And fortunately, with close ties to those communities, we can work hand in hand to help really be a concierge in that process. Goal number 2C, we want to work closely with the university and incubate innovative technologies and foster research commercialization to capture the long-term economic benefits for the local community. OSU is exceptional at research commercialization, but it doesn't always translate into investment within our community. Oftentimes, those companies end up growing here, but by the time they're really employing hundreds of people or making millions of dollars of investment, those jobs and those people end up leaving our community. We want to bridge that gap. Goal number 2D, we want to collaborate with some of those university partners like Atami, the Accelerator, the Foundry, Willamette Valley Capital, and the Innovator Network to support the entrepreneurship ecosystem. There are so many partners, and we can really be a catalyst in helping combine those efforts. Goal number 2E, we want to conduct a survey regarding potential incentives and barriers. We haven't done a survey of local businesses in Benton County in quite some time. And so this will help us understand their needs. We can share that data with the county and with the Economic Development Coalition. And then goal number 2F, we want to develop and launch a centralized online portal that provides information for businesses to locate or expand in Benton County. Right now, if you want to expand or locate, you're navigating maybe overlapping regulations in Philomath or Adair. It'd be great if the Yes Corvallis website could be a one-stop shop for navigating that development review process and really be a portal for accessing open grant opportunities or other resources available. Strategy number 3, we want to bolster business and target and emerging sectors. So that involves growing our countywide participation in Main Street and other initiatives aimed at placemaking and grant opportunities that benefit local business. This is something we've been successful at here in the last quarter with submitting a grant application on behalf of Ball Studio in Corvallis, which is one of the longest running businesses in the county. There's a wonderful history that I became familiar with working with that property owner, that business owner. And so we're really hopeful that that's going to be a success. And we want to do more of that. I think that can be a core component of what the EDU does to support business in Benton County. We want to collaborate with partners, the Chamber, Visit Corvallis, RAIN, the SBDC, to provide services that support local businesses and entrepreneurs. I like to say economic development is a team sport, and it really is. We have a lot of handoffs, and making sure that we have close working relationships with those critical partners is how we provide the highest level of support. We're working to cultivate a local food hub with a focus on business development and creating new commercial opportunities within the local food system. We're working closely with beverage and agricultural sectors and partners such as Visit Corvallis to implement projects like the Mid-Willamette Food Trail and events that highlight agricultural businesses in Benton County. I think there's also some land use regulation and reform that could go into helping support those industries. Strategy number 4, competitive benchmarking. This is kind of a new concept, I think, for the work of the EDO. Looking at what other comparator communities are doing to make the development review process less expensive, more timely, more predictable. And so we want to benchmark those policies and figure out where we stand within those communities that we're really competing with for limited investment dollars. So that involves inventorying all of our commercial and industrially zoned properties and analyzing land use policy to best meet market demand. So Oregon Prospector is really the repository for all of this information. If you go on Oregon Prospector right now, you'll see many properties, but not a whole lot of them are certified shovel ready. And so we're in the process of really auditing our Oregon Prospector records to make sure that they're 100% accurate and updated to reflect current environmental conditions, available infrastructure, zoning, property owner information, et cetera. Goal number 4B, we want to leverage state and regional partnerships with organizations like Business Oregon that offer grant resources to document industrial land conditions and market those development opportunities. We're underway right now with a $75,000 wetland delineation study. We've got about 12 acres of advanced mitigation credits in our airport industrial park. So the goal here is to see about 12 acres of frontage in the airport industrial park be certified shovel ready and begin marketing those opportunities to encourage new construction. I think that's very low hanging fruit that has a great ROI. Goal number 4C, study and identify best practices statewide to recommend land use reform and other policies that help provide a competitive advantage in Benton County. One example of that is CPACE, Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy. There are only 2 programs right now in the state, one in Deschutes and one in Multnomah County. We could be the 3rd county. It's not that complicated to set up a program. Previously, the EDO had been working to establish a statewide program. That was several years ago, and it has not really taken root. And so I think we're going to be focusing in the next 6 months on trying to establish a countywide CPACE program. Strategy number 5, support, I'm a little bit blinded here, but support regional economic development planning and workforce development efforts with partners like Oregon Works and Cascade West Council of Governments. So this is speaking to the regional approach towards economic development. The Oregon Cascade West Council of Governments has established an innovation hub. And so this is a countywide effort that provides more grant resources for economic development initiatives. And then, of course, we want to support initiatives and partnerships that benefit workforce development, childcare, and housing affordability. These things are all interconnected with economic development. You can't just support growth if you're not supporting the other amenities and needs of a workforce. And so we want to be partners to help support those other elements as well, like housing and childcare. This is the only reporting that we do annually. It's on the number of business retention, expansion, and outreach contacts to Benton County companies. If we could move that screen real quick. No worries. You'll see we have reached 74 businesses since I began on August 16th, 2023. Last year, we reached 83. We've got another quarter to go, and I anticipate we will reach the target of 100, exceeding it pretty easily. Following this fiscal year, we're going to track each of these contacts and look to articulate what outcomes were reached from each of those contacts. So did we hand off to a partner like the Small Business Development Center for financing options or Community Lending Works? Did we hand off to the Chamber? Did we hand off to Visa Corvallis? What were really the outcomes of those contacts? Did somebody access an incentive like an enterprise zone? These are really the next step in understanding the effectiveness of those contacts. So these are the reporting metrics that we're going to be working on in 24-25. There's land use inventory, economic toolkit utilization, business registry, and BRE. So we're going to be looking at what percentage of commercial or industrially zoned properties are vacant or underutilized. Please, yeah.
I just, before you move on to the countywide initiatives, I want to pause and ask a few questions if we may.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't want to, but I'm not sure whether you're finished with this slide, so.
Oh, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I want to say I very much appreciate the effort to go beyond just the touch points to outcomes. And I know the fact that we can't even say right now what percentage of businesses we're touching because we don't have a registry. We don't know how many businesses there are in Benton County. So I'm excited about the idea of a business registry as well. I'm assuming that would need to be a partnership with the county. We would each have to create a business registry.
So right now we're working with our fire department under health, life, and safety to understand. It's not a business license, so
Okay.
it's free of charge, but they're going to each commercial property and having them fill out a form so we can understand the number of employees there, whether it's vacant or not, and what type of business is present. This is possible countywide. It's a matter of working with those other partners to really staff and commit the time and resources needed to do that. And so we're going to be engaging Adair, engaging Philomath, engaging Monroe, engaging the county about what it looks like to really marshal the resources necessary to put together a registry. In the future, we might look to a licensing program, but I don't want that to prevent us from being able to understand those key data points, because a business license with a fee attached to it is a bit of a larger lift. I think you could see some resistance to that, and historically we have. But there is a way that we can get those key data points without that license.
Yeah, I think it's a complex question. So, but I applaud you for taking that one on. The other is the notion of a survey. I know from past experience in this arena that a huge element of what causes that capital to flee once companies get to a certain size is that lack of proximity to transportation and then lack of the larger industrial sites for manufacturing. But the transportation nexus is one that I don't think we can necessarily fix or address. I'm very curious to hear whether that's still one of the primary obstacles.
I don't think of transportation. I would actually say I think transportation in many ways, although we're off of the I-5 corridor, is somewhat of a strength with a local airport, with a railway, with 99. Yeah, we are off of I-5, and that does restrict some investment in some types of businesses. But I would characterize some of the transportation assets as a strength, and certainly not a limiting factor to the majority of businesses that are interested in being here.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing the results of that survey.
Yeah.
Commissioner Malone, do you have questions before we move on?
I think I'll let Christopher finish and then grill him.
Fair enough. So we're also going to be looking at how much are property taxes from commercial or industrially zoned properties increasing annually due to new construction. Something to measure the natural growth. Over time, properties become generally more valuable, but really separating and delineating new construction values from that natural growth you see is a better measurement of how we're doing our jobs. And then what economic development incentives are businesses using each quarter? I'm not sure that the Board of Commissioners or City Council knows how many enterprise zone applications there are, how many how we're using our tax increment financing dollars. Reporting on how economic development incentives are used, I think would be a really valuable metric as well. Talked about the registry, so we want to find out how many businesses exist in the county and what are the most common types. That'll help us figure out whether those industries are growing or declining. How many employees work in the county across different types of businesses? We can get some state data on that, but it really helps to collect that data locally. It really gives us the most precise information to guide decision making. All right. Countywide initiatives. So Recently, we have taken the lead on gathering letters of support for the broadband project, supporting rural communities countywide. So we've gathered, I think, over 24 letters of support, sometimes from big companies, sometimes from the university or smaller companies. But I think that support has helped lend itself to a more robust grant application. We've been supporting the Innovation Hub efforts with the Oregon Cascade West Council of Governments and sitting on their working groups. We've been supporting the Microfluidic Tech Hub. And so that's a really exciting initiative that could have some substantial economic benefits from Eugene all the way up to Portland, with Corvallis being at the center of an emerging technology with tremendous potential. We helped submit a grant on behalf of Adair Living History. They have a project called Raising the Barracks, where they're going to be seeking to do an interpretive history center where they can teach the history of Camp Adair. And there's a great nonprofit we were working with, and I think we had put together a very competitive grant application recently for that project. And then this fall, we distributed $280,000 of business grants. We followed up with many of those businesses to ask what the outcomes of those grants were. And I'm going to be providing that email list of those outcomes. We have some really great testimony from the businesses that received those grants, so you can hear directly about how they were benefited and what they used the dollars for. We're also going to be publishing that information on yescorvallis.org. A big part of what we want to do, I think, moving forward and with Lily's help, is telling our story better. Right now, we go from project to project to project, and it's hard to look back and to really gauge and measure the outcomes of our efforts and to hear from the people that we're trying to serve. And so we have some great testimony that we're going to be highlighting on our website and telling those stories more effectively. And last, we have the South Corvallis Food Hub updates. This is the project I think I'm most excited about. Well, not last week, but the week prior, we held 2 meetings at the Tunison Community Room. Both had Spanish interpretation. Both were pretty well attended, online and in person. There's going to be a comprehensive facility needs assessment provided by the consultant team on May 21st to the Benton County Board of Commissioners. This will also include the feasibility study and gaps analysis. These were critical parts of the project that really help us move into the next phase for a request for proposals to solicit projects from the community and apply grant resources to help implement those projects. So we are expecting that RFP to be released in the next week, and we're going to provide for about 1.5 to 2 months for answers. Typically, we only leave an RFP open for a month, but given that we're trying to attract a wide swath of proposals, both large and small, and that we're trying to encourage collaboration among community partners, a longer window for that RFP is, I think, advantageous for that goal. And then we have a new partnership with the Small Business Development Center to support businesses wishing to respond to the request for proposal with technical writing services. One of the challenges of this project is that it's not a traditional request for proposal. If you're trying to build a bridge or if you're trying to build a road, you put out the specifications, you put it on BidNet or you put it on public purchase, and then folks know where to look for those opportunities. Folks who are interested in operating a food hub, they don't look in the same places like public purchase or BidNet, and so you're not really getting the same audience that you're looking for in terms of operators. And so it's really been a grassroots effort to try and attract folks to be aware of the opportunity and then to think of themselves as operators. If you're a nonprofit or you're a food business, you have a mission. And that mission is rarely to be a food hub operator. So you could really see during these public meetings, as folks are talking to one another, kind of the light bulb going off, where they realize, me and the other folks that I work with, we could do an element of this food hub based on the different scenarios that have been developed by the food hub consultant. You know, there's the opportunity for pop-up restaurants, pop-up food carts, wholesale aggregation and distribution support, CSAs, additional farmers markets. This next step in the process is really where the rubber meets the road of the project. When we start to identify where the bulk of the grant dollars will be used to support improved food access in South Corvallis, improved commercial opportunities within the food system, and those other goals. The upcoming, following the release of the RFP, we will be holding additional meetings really focused on encouraging collaboration among the local stakeholders in putting together proposals. So you might have some folks who are interested in doing one element of a food hub, and we want to help connect those folks to one another so that they can put together collaborative proposals. Following the RFP, once we evaluate the proposals, we will negotiate the scope of work and enter into contracts with those different organizations, individuals, or businesses before the deadline of December 31st, 2024, to meet our obligations according to ARPA. With that, I welcome questions.
Okay, appreciate the presentation, and glad the office is getting staffed up. You mentioned the COG a couple times, and I know there was a vacancy in the economic development director, and Ryan Vogt filled in as best he could, the executive director, but that was, for whatever reason, was a tough position to fill, and has been filled recently. And you know, let's see, Jacqueline Disney, and yes, she's related, but very vaguely. She gets asked that a lot. Your office was grossly understaffed for most of about 8 months of last year. And so appreciate the update and kind of ambitious to-do list here. You mentioned the airport industrial park, and that's been mentioned for a decade or two or three. One thing that I remember is the county, it's in the county, but owned by the city. And so anybody that wants to do a development there has to go through 2 layers of government. I've been here over 5 years, and I remember, well, we need to streamline that. And I think the idea was to get the county out of the permitting process. Has there been any progress on that?
There is progress on that. Right now, that permitting process happens in development services, the same division that does all the permitting for the city. We work closely with development services to look at the airport industrial park development plan. But there is overlapping regulations right now. Because it is in the county, it's really county zoning. And then how the airport industrial master plan aligns, or in many cases doesn't align with the zoning, does present some unique challenges, both in terms of allowed uses, but also development standards themselves. So it's been somewhat difficult. I think with the prospect of airport industrial park annexation, many of those issues will be resolved, but You can see it historically in the types of leases and the varying standards to which some developments were held compared to others. And so, yeah, it remains somewhat challenging at times, but at least right now they're only going to development services. We have a pretty clear idea of what is allowed and what isn't allowed. Fortunately, our lease language does clear up a lot of the discrepancies. So if there is an issue where there's a challenge, we can often point to the lease, which helps reconcile some of the differences between county zoning and the airport and industrial park master plan. But it's not a perfect solution. And I think the only way you can really resolve that without a lot of changing zoning at the county level would be to pursue annexation. And that is budgeted for, assuming it doesn't get cut in the city of Corvallis budget here, which we'll find out in the next month or two.
Thank you. My other question / comment is some of the partnerships you mentioned, OSU and microfluidics and I think there needs to be more work at least informing partners like us what's going on, because that's pretty exciting and could be a big deal, and still relatively, I mean, I just stumbled on it accidentally, and so absolutely no blaming anybody, but I think we need to do better at sharing information and seeing each, making sure that it, the partners are seen as partners, and I definitely want Benton County to be in that conversation. So whatever you can do along those lines would be appreciated. I think we can. There's several ambitious projects, and it's going to take all of us pulling in the same direction to have a chance of success, because there's plenty of competition for economic development dollars, and so just making sure that all the team members are aware and helping.
100%.
I would echo that. And I know that some of the biggest drivers in terms of economic development are both HP and OSU. Because they're both located within the city limits, we don't get as much information. Sometimes we're the last to hear. And that's sometimes challenging. So you're our best link that way, and we would really appreciate being kept in the loop. The other, the microfluidics isn't the only tech hub. The other one is the cross-laminated timber, right? So there's more going on that might actually be more benefit for rural Benton County. So we're also very interested in that tech hub designation for Oregon State University. But yes, information flow would be wonderful.
We will make a more concerted effort, especially being fully staffed here, to communicate those developments in real time, even if it's just an email where we're not waiting till the next quarterly update to provide those key information for the commission, or the commissioners rather. And I do believe that there will be an opportunity in the near future for both the Microfluidic Tech Hub and the Mass Timber Tech Hub to provide updates directly to the Board of Commissioners.
Next month, we're looking at it. We had a meeting yesterday.
Yep. And so you'll be able to hear directly from those folks. I could tell you some things, but I know they would really be able to give the most robust update.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. And you mentioned that with the two of you, you're now fully staffed.
Correct.
Okay, that's a very ambitious agenda for two people. So I'm eager to see how it all works out. I know many of these things have been in process for a while, but you're also trying to go deeper. Best of luck, and let us know how we can be supportive. And I know that you have many regional and local partners. So hopefully they're all rowing in the same direction.
There may only be two of us, but we do have many partners to get the work done.
And on the Food Hub, it's a project that has been near and dear to me for a long time. I've been very engaged in this particular topic for probably almost 2 decades. I hate to admit it, likewise, just communication is important. Even just updates between formal presentations would be most welcome, just to keep up with what's going on. Yeah, thank you. I didn't know about the meetings, for instance, the public meetings, until a constituent let me know.
We will definitely make a more concerted effort in the communication department.
Thank you. That'd be much appreciated.
Yeah, I would definitely second that notion of making sure all the partners are at least aware of what's going on. I guess the last thing I'd like to mention is the broadband effort. That's a lot going on, and kind of a question who's in charge and who's leading the charge. But that is exciting, and as the pandemic proved, broadband is not a option or something for the early adapters. It's a necessity. Whatever you folks can do to advance that effort in our area is would be appreciated and is very necessary.
I have a follow-up question on that. The focus of all of the broadband dollars coming down from state and federal government is really on filling the gaps, and that's as it should be. Everyone needs to have this baseline service these days. But I also know that we have limitations even within town in terms of the breadth of the band, so to speak, for certain types of businesses. And is there any work going on to enrich or expand the bandwidth as a business development tool?
So currently, the scope of work in the Celerity grant project, it's looking to meet the gaps in the broadband project, not to expand capacity where there is existing broadband. This is key infrastructure, both for economic development and in our modern way of living. I think the pandemic really highlighted that high quality internet connections and speeds are not a luxury, but a need. And so we're going to be looking to continue to advance that network countywide with additional grant resources wherever possible.
Okay, that answers that question. I think that there's need for both, but obviously we have to do one thing at a time. So thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming and the discussion and the review of the strategic plan. We, as county commissioners, have been quite engaged in that strategic planning process in the past also. But I understand that this came up, I think, primarily through the. Tell me, how was the strategic plan assembled? Who was involved?
Working with the Economic Development Coalition, Commissioner Weiss is the liaison for the county. We met 3 times this year, following a year without meeting at all. And so we worked with those different business representatives on the Economic Development Coalition to formulate a strategic or a SWOT analysis to identify priority redevelopment sites, to put together key data metrics, and to develop those 5 core strategies. One of the things that we did differently in this work plan was previously we had been developing a 2-year strategic work plan, which I think is not a long enough runway to really do anything strategic. And so we're making our strategic work plan a living document that we update annually based on new opportunities and reporting on the accomplishments or the goals that we're able to reach in real time. And so it's a bit of a switch in terms of how we forecast our work into the future, but I think it better meets the needs of our strategies by looking at it in that way.
Yeah, I have a feeling that our 2-year agreement may have dictated some of that 2-year approach in the past. So a more fluid approach seems appropriate. Look forward to seeing the data emerge over time.
Absolutely. And I want to thank the commissioners and staff at the county for their leadership and support of our work. It's been great having partners like Rachel and Rick, Jeremy, and all the others to really support our efforts and help guide some of that work.
Thank you. Really appreciate the update. And it's a pleasure to meet you in your new role, Lily. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So up next, we have the just mentioned Jeremy Martin with the County American Rescue Plan Act expense review, otherwise known as ARPA.
Oh, thank you.
And I see that Jeremy has been joined by Debbie Sessions, so welcome.
I need support. I'm nervous. No. I want to go on the record saying too, as an enrolled tribal member in Siletz, 1844 is my enrollment number. I appreciate the Heritage Month and the stuff that you were doing to recognize that because, you know, the BIA school in Salem was a huge disaster historically for us. And so being able to honor that's important. I just want to put that on the record.
Thank you.
So the presentation is about the ARPA dollars that were received, the federal ARPA dollars that were received. We didn't talk about the state pass-through ARPA money. We can if you want to lightly, but we just wanted to recap some of the expenditures and what's been happening here in the county. Do you want me to like read these directly to you? Okay.
You do not need to read them.
Okay. And so as you know, we got roughly $18 million to invest in Benton County. And as you'll see here, of some of our expenses, we could group some of these together, but our 2 largest categories are community grants and the land acquisition for the courthouse. I just wanted to highlight that because the Emergency Operations Center is a huge bonus for Benton County, especially for any disasters that could be coming our way or will come our way because they're inevitable. And so that investment is really important. And then the amount of money that we put into the community that even Chris was able to talk about today for business development has been huge. And so we'll talk about a couple success stories at the end of the presentation. But then obviously we have these other projects as well. I'm a little nervous, don't worry, we'll get there. Again, we're just talking about the projects. I highlighted the 3 largest projects so far. These are expenses to date. And we've obligated, so we have to have all of our ARPA funds, our federal ARPA funds obligated by December 30th of 2024. And we've done all of that except for $97,000. It's all been obligated to projects to either help with infrastructure, water, sewer, broadband, the community, and what have you. So here's kind of like where I wanted to spend a lot of our time with the community investment. Because while this diagram kind of gives you a rough breakdown, one of the things that I really wanted to highlight is that we did almost 2.2 million in housing, youth development, and culturally specific services. Those were our top 3 categories for grants, with housing as number one, youth development is number two, and culturally specific services is number three. We invested heavily in those. And I think that that has been a huge bonus for Benton County because people that are experiencing houselessness, we want to be able to provide them hope, shelter, and food. Also, we want to invest in our kids. As a father inside Corvallis, I live on 29th Street. I'm like, it's really important to me that, my kids have a healthy future as well. And then culturally specific services, because we don't want to leave anybody out. And so our next three categories after that are the business, IDD service organization, and food services specifically. There was only one organization that was very specific to food, the Benton County Food Share. I think you're all familiar with that. And so I'm going to butcher the name, so I'm not even going to be disrespectful and say that, but I am going to say that this organization inside Benton County has reached out to Monroe. And if somebody else can say it correctly and honor that, I would let them do that, but I don't want to.
Casa Latinos Unidos. Yeah.
Thank you. This organization for me has been amazing because they're teaching some basic things that not even people who go to the public school system here get. And that's, basic financial services, budgeting. How do we create a list, a grocery list? What do we need to do to incorporate our expenses so that we can prepare for the future? Some of the stuff that they've been doing, every time I get these quarterly reports, it fills me with goodness because I'm like, okay, they are making an impact. And they stretch all the way down to Monroe. And I believe they went up to, now I got to look real quick because I don't want to be up here telling stories. Philomath, Monroe, I thought they said they went to Adair, but anyways, their rollout has been amazing. And some of the stuff they've done, it's been so innovative in how they can reach their communities and getting also community health down in Monroe to help the population there as well, so that nobody's left behind. It's truly inspirational. So if we can take a moment to appreciate this work that's been done, it's amazing.
I want to note that a lot of the work that Casa Latinos Unidos has been doing has been in partnership with the program at the Council of Governments called Stand By Me, which is the financial education program. And it's been a really robust partnership, and it's very exciting.
I believe Stand By Me will be here next week. So we put in a request for that.
Awesome.
Too. Yeah. There's so many people out there doing great things in Benton County. It's really nice. Like Chris was talking about, I do think we need to disseminate that information better and more thoroughly so that people are aware. And then this is the Philomath Youth Activities Club. This is one of the local providers for youth development. And I just wanted to highlight their ability and what they've been able to do with after school programs and how they're teaching some kids social emotional skills. I probably didn't captivate it very well in this slide. However, some of that collaborative problem solving that they're incorporating for kids that may be experiencing a tantrum or emotional upheaval or something that, not everybody gets those coping skills in the house. And so the ability for them to be able to provide this is huge for me. It's one of those, again, feel good things for me. So I wanted to highlight it here because apparently I'm selfish and I just want to show you what I want to show you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And then with us, we do have some money set aside with ARPA dollars for the courthouse. And we haven't yet got the final budget in for the courthouse. But the goal is, if we do, to have another pool of money, and then we'll have to decide what's going to be done with that money. It does have to be obligated by the end of 2024, but it doesn't have to be spent until the end of 2026. And so there's potential there. But that, I think, is for a later date. That's a question for Rick. This is my first time to fly solo, and we'll see what happens.
Well, thank you. It's great to get an update as to where we are now. And I know that there is still some uncertainty in those funds that are obligated, but not yet spent. So it would be wonderful if we did have enough money for one last round of community grants. But I'm not holding my breath. But I also wanted to note that the land acquisition is not just for the courthouse, but it's the whole community safety and justice campus And as you pointed out, it'll be the courthouse, district attorney's office, emergency operations center, and in the long term, ideally the jail and the sheriff's office as well. Once we get funding together for the whole suite of facilities. And so that's very exciting. I'm glad to see that that's moving ahead.
Yeah, Jeremy, great job. You don't need to be nervous here among friends. I was involved in this and COVID and things happening that we didn't expect. So I appreciate the summary because it's was a little bit of a blur. I knew we had a significant amount of money from the federal government and also from the state, but to have the nice pie chart and where it went, and I hope our PIO in the back is awake and oh, he is good, and we'll get the word out, because if I'm a little fuzzy on the details, I'm pretty sure community members don't really know what happened, and it is a good story, and appreciate the summary, especially now that it's towards the end of the process, even though you said we have 2 years after the end of the year to actually spend the dollars. Okay.
Fulfill obligations, yeah.
It seems like, as I remember during when things were hot and heavy, there was earlier deadlines, and then
It's gotten extended a couple of times.
feedback from the people like us saying we need more time to do a thoughtful use of these funds. So appreciate the update, and I will print out the pie chart and put it on my bulletin board.
And I do just want to highlight too, that this was our direct $18 million. There were millions of dollars outside of that we received for ARPA through the public health system, through law enforcement, through multiple other areas that weren't captured here. So our impact went even further, which is phenomenal. This was our direct 18 million.
Thank you. I think that one of the things I'm very grateful for as a commissioner is being in office at this time. It's been a real time of opportunity to invest, not only in our own facilities and capital, but also in the community very directly, based on community need. And this is not an opportunity that comes along all that often. So thank you for helping us do this well, and investing in these local organizations that are really making a difference. And I do want to point out one more thing before I move on, and that is that I didn't acknowledge the fact that Commissioner Wise is not with us this morning. She is at a Western Interregional Conference for the National Association of Counties, and that's why she's not here with us today. So thank you very much.
I had one other comment, and that's, and it may not have been ARPA dollars, but just the Kate Portia and the Corvallis Benton County Economic Development Office helped us develop, I think, a nice, thoughtful process for getting money to local businesses in spring of 2020, when nobody knew what the future held, and a lot of like restaurants and taverns and were shut down. And, we were guessing how long it was going to last, but knew that there was a significant need in our area. And I think that was important in showing that local government can walk and chew gum at the same time and try to do the best we can with these federal dollars to keep local businesses and nonprofits functioning till things got better. So I had, what was it? CARES Act, I think, was the first round, and it's, I think that has served us well as far as there was mention of the last Christopher Jacobs presentation on inventory of local businesses, and it started during that period because we didn't know necessarily who was out there. So there have been some positive benefits out of going through the COVID experience, but appreciate the report and keep up the good work.
Thanks again. Okay, moving on to new business. The next item is 6.1, acceptance of easements for the Corvallis to Albany Path, Pilkington Avenue to Merloy Avenue. And I'm assuming that's Owen Miller instead of Laurel. Well, thank you. Always appreciate maps. Yes, you may need to put it a little closer to you, but.
Hello, everyone. I'm here on behalf of Laurel Byer, Benton County engineer. As you mentioned, I'm Owen Miller, civil engineer with Benton County Public Works. I am here for the Pilkington to Merloy section of the Corvallis to Albany Path. The Corvallis to Albany Path is a long-term project that we've been working on for a long time, with the goal of constructing a multi-use path from Corvallis to North Albany along the Highway 20 corridor. Due to the size and the cost of the project, it's been broken out into segments. And as I mentioned today, we're focusing on the Pilkington to Merloy section, which is closer to Corvallis. And I am here with 2 easements for the board to accept. We've been working with to obtain easements along this section in order to go to construction, and these are 2 of the last easements that we need. The goal is to construct this section of the path this year. And the handouts that I provided are an overview map of the whole project. The 11 by 17s show the whole corridor. The North Albany section, which is shown in that 8.5 by 11 sheet. There's still some uncertainty with that section and how we're gonna safely cross Highway 20. And so that section, we are going to do an engineering study to determine what the best alignment is along that section. And I think that's it for what I have for you, but I'm happy to answer or try to answer any questions.
Owen, you mentioned on the Corvallis section, being able to have actual pavement this summer.
Correct. Yep. We are, once we finalize easements, we will move to construction. So yes, that is the goal.
Has it gone out to bid?
It has not. We are trying to get it out the door quickly.
Okay, because summer is coming.
It is coming.
Just in case you hadn't noticed.
No, these are, so once, like I said, we need to finalize these easements and then we will move to that.
And you have one more easement to go?
We are still in negotiations with the Children's Farm Home. And I think Laurel will be back here to discuss that with you. So that's what we're working through in order to move forward.
Excellent. And I note that this Murloy to Pilkington section is part of the US 20 safety project. And there's one other segment that also is part of that project. Is there going to be bike lane built up there also at this time?
So it's separate. The state's doing their own projects, but they are doing, when they're doing their projects, they are doing widening.
Yes.
Shoulders. They're not necessarily improvements specifically for bike and ped, but so in like the section closer to Independence Highway, when they did their widening, they widened enough to allow for a path in the future.
That's great. And then the section that's labeled future segment that goes from Murloy up all the way through Coons or Scenic, that I understand that there's ODOT has money to do a study about that segment, or is it just part of that?
I think the money that we have for a study is that section on the 8.5 by 11.
Oh, okay.
I can verify that with Laurel and let you know if that's not correct.
Okay.
I believe that's the section, and that could stretch towards Independence Highway just to figure out, like I said, how to safely cross the highway.
Got it. It's confusing to keep in mind all of these different segments of and phases of the project. And it would probably be useful in future to have just a little table that listed the segments and the funding source and status, just so that we can keep it in mind when we have to explain to constituents that it can be a little challenging.
Yes, that's definitely something we can provide.
Thank you.
The middle section got something like a $1.2 $1 million grant from ODOT carbon reduction. I think it was carbon reduction grant for preliminary planning and maybe 20% design or something like that.
But with ODOT in the lead, not with county in the lead. Yeah. That was my recollection.
ODOT was very helpful in pointing out the grant and helping us apply. So
that's great. Yeah, I'm not aware of that section.
So I think the point is there's activity on all three sections, and I've been telling people for better part of a year, most of this year, that there will be pavement this summer. So I hope you can
there will be.
make me be truthful in that statement. I appreciate the update, and like Commissioner Ojero says, it'd be nice to, because there is a lot going on and different timing, different to see what the funding sources are, and that would also help point out where the gaps in funding are going forward, so we can get this thing completed.
Definitely, that makes sense, and we will provide that.
Thank you. If there are no more questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to accept and approve the public utility and access easements and temporary easement for construction for the Corvallis to Albany path Pinkerton Avenue to Marlowe Avenue.
Second. All in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
And after the meeting, I'll need a couple signatures.
Okay, happy to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, up next is discussion regarding supplemental budget 241101, amending the Community Health Center's budget via resolution number R 2024-006. And we have Rick Krager, Assistant County Administrator, Debbie Sessions, Interim CFO, and Jen Ambule, Financial Services Budget Coordinator at the table.
Great. Thanks so much, Commissioners. Good to see all of you. We are starting on page 59 of your packet, where you will find a resolution that we're proposing to move forward in relation to our community health centers. So just as a bit of a background, you've already heard this presentation, so I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail like we did several weeks ago around the community health center rebalance. We did purposely want to do this supplement separate. We do have a variety of other things that Jen and Debbie will be bringing to you, I think, within the next month or so in relation to the entire budget. But we wanted to keep this separate just because, again, it was a complicated issue and wanted to just isolate this specifically for the rebalance. So quick presentation for you here that's also referenced in your agenda. First, we're looking at a $4.3 million, approximate $4.3 million budget reduction. Again, don't want to make you nervous on all that because, as we mentioned, this was necessary because of the revenue shortfalls that we were seeing. Certainly could have been looking at a lot more in terms of reduction if it hadn't been for some of the increased projections that we have related to our Medicaid rates, which is still moving along, but still looking very, very positive in terms of what we had forecasted, and what I should say, what we conservatively forecasted. So the hopes is it's more than what we had predicted. But these particular reductions, again, the 4.3 was to help us get in balance with the revenues that we are seeing. So in total, about a 6.17% reduction to the budget. And you can see here where all the areas in which that would be applied, both between the Benton Lynn Health Centers as well as our behavioral health services. As a reminder, to get into that balance, we did several things. The first, as we talked about, was a $1 million shift of dollars, or I should say a reduction in our department cost allocation. This is not to be confused with central cost allocation. This is for the health department itself, but there had been an accumulation of resources that had built up there, so that it enabled us to cut back on how much they actually needed to expend this biennium. So that was one of the really big areas. Another place I mentioned earlier, the central cost allocation. We are, as we said from the beginning, if there are reductions, we need to also be applying those to our central cost as well. We all feel very confident that while that certainly, that would be less revenues, we can sustain those within our departments that we have across the board. So as there's adjustments that are necessary, certainly we will bring those to you. There was also brought up here a $2.2 million budgeted staffing reduction. But again, to be very, very clear, there are no FTEs that we are proposing to be eliminated in this. These were all reductions in our personal service cost as it relates to vacancy savings, attrition, all the above. So again, great job by the CHC staff and really looking and being strategic in terms of the positions they currently have. And then there's a few other things here that are more minor in nature, but I think one of the things that I would point out is the increase in operating contingency. We talked about that last time. That really important that we work towards building a strong reserve for these particular funds. And even though this helps and puts us at the 2.02 million, it's still below what we would consider prudent. So I think it's important as we continue to think about going forward, if maybe those revenues come in higher than we anticipated, good opportunity to build those reserves so that we have never know when that rainy day will come, and have that prudent level reserves to help us. This is just a real quick recap of the impacts as it relates to the major categories in our budget. It's a little more technical, but you can at least see where all of the various areas that will be reduced in the appropriations. And then this again gives a little bit more information in terms of the two funds and where we see those revisions in comparison to where we were actually at the adopted level. So again, breaks it down for you a little bit more, but again, end result is about a $4.3 million budget reduction. And then lastly, this is just a little bit more to kind of link us back to budget development. This is where you started. You can see the budget supplements that we've had so far this year is the 17.4 million. See it right there, $17.4 million that you initially approved in the fall. You have this $4.3 million reduction. And then, as I said, there will be another budget supplement coming here probably in the next couple weeks that Debbie and Jen will lead in terms of a lot of the adjustments that we've seen from legislative session and other adjustments within the county budget. So that's, again, a quick recap. Your proposal or the resolution is, again, noted for you in the packet, and we answer any questions that you might have.
I wanted to say that I really appreciated this table and just tying it all back to the original budget. I like that.
We will continue, or I should say, Debbie will continue to carry that forward to make sure we always have a good history of track.
So you'll see it in the next.
Exactly. In a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions, Commissioner Malone?
No, I appreciate walking us through where we are currently, and now it's time to true up the budget. And nice, clear presentation. Appreciate bringing the whole team here. That's it's a good group. Ready for a motion? I move to adopt resolution R 2024-00.
Wrong one. Sorry. We need to move it forward for a public hearing.
Oh, okay. There. I move to forward supplemental budget 24-1101 for community health centers to the May 21st, 2024 board meeting for a public hearing and adoption.
Second. All in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So we'll see you again on May 21st for the budget hearing.
Thank you again, Chair Ojiro. We appreciate the support, and a bit bittersweet because this is my last budget supplement, but I definitely turn the reins over to the very capable hands of Debbie and Jen. So just appreciate all that they do, and I know that they will do a great job going forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to first announcements and then other. And I think the only announcement I would like to make today is the ballots are out. Please vote. May 21st is election day. So please don't hesitate to fill out your ballot and drop it off right here at the Calapooya building. And the reason I have two, I'm not voting twice, is that I do have my husband's ballot as well. Thank you, Rachel. Okay. Moving on to other, we have the one item, and that is to, we need a motion to authorize the chair to sign the Oregon quitclaim deed for the McBee property. Jesse.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you so much for getting us on the agenda today for this item. This is an important one because that deed is very useful in our state parks grants. So all the great folks at AFRANA, the Alliance for Recreation and Natural Areas, worked through the process, and this is the final step for us to own the McBee Campground. So if there aren't any questions, I would pass it off to Vance to kind of guide us through kind of the next step.
Thanks, Jesse. And I don't think the motion is to sign it because Afrana has already executed the deed. When we take property, the board needs to formally accept it. So otherwise, anybody could willy-nilly just give us property.
And what I was told was it was a motion to authorize me as the chair to sign.
There's nothing for you to sign. The deed is from Afrana to Benton County, so they have already executed that. I think there's a second line on there for the grantor, for whoever that is, but
Got it. Okay.
so all you need to do is there needs to be a motion to accept the quitclaim deed from Afrana to Benton County conveying the McBee campground.
Is there such a motion?
All eyes are on you.
Oh, yeah. I would move that Benton County accept a quitclaim deed from Afrana transferring the McBee campground.
Second. All in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, unless there is any other business, we are.
Wait.
No, that we already approved. There, what Vance is waiving is a letter that we three commissioners approved, a letter of support for a grant from congressionally designated spending to the city of Monroe for their stormwater management. We did approve that last week when we met just prior to the county administrator's performance check-in.
I just wanted to double check since it was sitting here in the packet. Want to make sure that Monroe wasn't shortchanged.
We have not left them high and dry.
I had one comment on how to vote, and I believe if you drop it off at the county white ballot drop boxes, you save the state postage.
Oh, that's a good point. Yep. Always a good thing. Thank you, Commissioner Malone.
I'm thrifty.
Okay. Thank you very much. And with that, our meeting is adjourned at 10:30 a.m.